Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our city council meeting on August 19th tonight. Mayor, unfortunately, couldn't make it. He had prior family commitments he had to attend to. So y'all bear with me as this is my first council meeting having to handle it. So a roll call from my left, y'all's right. We have Ms. Rachel Hall, Desiree David, our attorney Tommy, city manager Lee Tipton, city secretary Juanita Limon, Brent McWaters, and Roscoe Ward. And then tonight for invocation, we're going to have Pastor Thelma Daniels with Faithful and True Fellowship, and then Brent McWaters will do the pledges. Then we have a couple employee recognitions this month. I know the first one's Captain Brian Harvey, fire department. He's not here, but we'll give it Chief, and you can give it to him. we just want to say thank you for everything you do for us. I know you have to deal with council and all the executives, especially on agendas and open records requests. So thank you for all you do. Then we have public comments. Any person with city-related business may speak to the council in compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. The city council may not discuss or vote on any matter raised in public comments unless it is specifically on the agenda. To speak during a council meeting, you must be recognized by the presiding officer. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person. And I believe we only have one, which is Chuck Thompson.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council. I know a few of you all know me, but for the record, my name is Chuck Thompson, and I'm here representing the Board of Directors for the Senior Citizen Center here in Cleveland. We wanted to come out tonight and promote our second annual Fall Festival, which I believe is our largest fundraiser for the year. We wanted to get ahead of the crowd and make sure that everyone was aware of it. My counterpart is Ms. Kay Martin, and she is the organizer of the event. She's here to give you some greater detail than I can.
Hi, I'm Kay Martin. Sorry.
You're fine, I'm a little tall.
Anyway, this is our fall festival at the Senior Citizen. We're going to have, hopefully, pack the inside and the outside this year. Last year, we had the inside full with vendors and different kind of people coming through. And then now we're wanting to work on getting the parking lot full. So we're just wanting y'all to know what's going on with the Senior Citizen, and if anyone here or anyone would like to show up, we'd appreciate it. If you have any vendor people that would like to join, just give us a call. I have flyers with this young lady over here.
Put them on the table.
Oh, he put them on the table, sorry. Anyway, there's flyers on the table that gives you explanations on who to contact and what the fees are and everything else. I appreciate y'all's interest, and hopefully we'll see you there. It'll be October the 4th. It's going to be registered as the first Saturday of every October so that we can get a banner, and with costs the way they are, if we just put the first Saturday, then we can roll it over for every year to save us on money. So, and it'll be from 10 to 4. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Item 6, reports from members of council regarding attendance of boards, commissions, social functions, conventions, workshops, ceremonial events, press conferences, candidate forums, and similar events where no formal action was taken in discussion of public business incidental to the event. I'll start from my left, your right, Ms. Rachel Hall.
Thank you. I don't have any board reports this month, but I do want to thank the mayor, though he's out in the council, for the prayers. So I'm happy to be back this week. So thank you. And the members of the community who also reached out with their prayers. Thank you to them as well.
Ms. David. Mr. McWaters.
No comment tonight. Just thank you again, as always, to our police and fire departments and city staff. Thank y'all.
Mr. Ward.
Just want to say thanks to all our city workers and department heads for the job that you all are doing. Job well done. And, you know, I know what we're working on now, and I know it's kind of, I'm loud, I'm sorry. I know it's kind of, you know, rugged right now, but we're going to make it through this together. So we're here for you. Whatever you need, just know that we're here for you. And, you know, and the city workers, street workers, everybody know, police department, everybody know we love y'all. So we're here for y'all. Thank you.
Well, Pam just walked out. I just wanted to say happy birthday to her. I know she's gonna love that. But I just want to say thank you to city staff for hard work on the budget, getting everything done that we did do. Fire department, police department, public works, being out there in the heat, taking care of repairs on stuff and keeping us safe. And I also just want to keep Mayor in our prayers, and everything's gonna be good. Y'all got anything? Oh, you're back, so happy birthday, Pam. All right, we'll move on to public hearings. Item 7, public hearing on proposed budget for year 2026. I gotta open it at 6:14. Any comments on it? And close at 6:14. Item 8, public hearing for the proposed rezoning of approximately 1.41 acres legally described as 1.41 acres of land situated in the John Breeding Survey, Tract 16, abstract number 432, Cleveland, Liberty County, Texas, listed as the following: LCAD property ID number 29277 from single-family detached residential zoning district to general commercial zoning district at 6:15.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. Emilio Navarro, Director of Community Development. Just to provide some context for anyone who wants to speak on the item, this is concerning, like you said, a rezoning request from R1 to GC located at the southeast intersection of South Line Street and South Travis Street. So it's currently zoned R1. They're requesting to go to general commercial, and they're proposing to do a product similar to this, although if you do approve the rezoning, it would be whatever uses are allowed in general commercial. So we can't guarantee that would be the final developed product. Happy to answer any questions, or well, actually, let's hold that until the action, and then whoever wants to speak for the public hearing.
Any comments? Closing it at 6:16. Item 9, public hearing for the proposed rezoning of approximately 1.17 acres legally described as being of lots 4, 5, 8, 9, and 10, and the remainders of lots 1, 2, 3, 6, and 7, Block 12, Dunham, Second Edition, Cleveland, Liberty County, Texas, listed as the following district to general commercial zoning district at 6:17.
Yes, thank you. Again, just provide some context to this. This is another request from single family R1 to general commercial GC. This is located at the intersections of Dunham Avenue, Fostoria Street, and the US 59 frontage. So currently zoned R1, does have a historic district overlay. I'll get in later why that may or may not be relevant. And then they are requesting to go to general commercial. Again, the property owner has some indications of what they may use the property for, but again, this is a straight rezoning, so it would just be whatever's permitted in general commercial ultimately.
Any comments?
I don't know if did you sign up to?
Good evening. I'm Carl Smith. I'm actually the owner of the property. I'll start off with, I'm a former councilman and mayor, so I not only respect, but I appreciate your positions and appreciate your time. This piece of property I bought in about 2008. Some of you may know Leslie Galloway. I think he worked for Philip Cook at Philip Cameron at Cameron Real Estate at the time. I bought it as commercial property at that time. I've been paying taxes to the county, the city, school district, and everything on a commercial-based price for 18 years now, roundabout. The two questions that hit my mind, number one is why did this ever happen? How did it ever happen? It's, you know, financially it's devastating to me because the property's worth a fraction of what it was worth before. As far as the city's concerned, it's interstate highway frontage. I can't understand why you would zone that residential. I mean, nobody's going to build a house there. It's just, it's one of them situations, it's hard for me to relate exactly why it would have taken place even. You know, I figure as far as Philip Cook, previous city manager that was here back in the 2012, 10, back in there, he actually went to he owned the property next to it. The other side of what you show there is Leggett Street. He actually went to the point of having Leggett Street abandoned so that could be one large commercial piece of property. Everything you're looking at right there was all commercial. I'll go as far as the property next to me going north. I know the people that own it, that had it. They bought it from Philip Cook. That would be Larry Potter. He's deceased now. His sons now have it. They have Sinat. There's a 60-foot billboard on it. They bought it for commercial. It's currently being used for commercial. So I don't, both of us, neither one of us ever received notice of this taking place, that it was gonna take place, or there was a meeting for it, or anything. The first one to find out was me when I had a prospective tenant for the property to start doing something with it. I told them to go to the city to start their permitting process. And next thing I knew, they contacted me and said, hey, they said it's residential, it's not commercial. So you know, my two questions is why and how. You know, why did it take place? How? For the city, it's no advantage whatsoever. I mean, you would want that developed as commercial property along the interstate highway. For me, once again, my property's worth maybe a tenth of what it was worth, if that's to prevail.
I'm gonna stop you right there. We're at 3 minutes.
Pardon?
I have to stop you right there. We're at 3 minutes.
Go.
It's good. It's good? Okay. No, you're good. You can keep going. Sorry.
Okay, I thought because I was on the agenda. I was like, so going south, okay, you have a block zone, an entire block zone commercial. Both those, all those blocks there. So next thing down from that is Holiday Inn. So that's right next to me. Is all zone, you know, it has smaller homes on it that are a little bit older, and obviously, you know, at some point you reach a point where the property is worth more than the houses, and it's desirable for everybody to get together and form a commercial one large tract or a larger tract. To north of me, like I said, it's being used as commercial. I don't, you know, the zoning that's written up there now doesn't even fit. I was involved with where QT is at now. In fact, I owned the corner where QT is at, and I sold that. That was all of you probably know Robert Reynolds. He was a key one involved in putting that all together for that project. And that's what needs to happen in the city. You have to have development like that to prosper, in my books. I don't know. I think, did all of you get a copy of what I had written down, my points on the matter? I think you did, and along with that I contained a plat. We've actually went to the point on this property of having a topo drawn up of it, so we got the proper drainage on it and everything. And anybody have any questions for me?
We'll do questions on the action item on the actual agenda. This is just the comments, the hearings.
Okay. So we'll have another meeting on it, or? Okay, I thought so. All right, well, yeah, I appreciate your consideration on it.
Closing at 6:23. Oh, is there anyone else on it? Closing at 6:23. Item 10, public hearing for the proposed rezoning of approximately 65.27 acres, legally described as 65.27 acres of land situated in the Presley Gill Survey, abstract number 230, and the Thomas Dever Survey, abstract number 790, Cleveland, Montgomery County, Texas, listed as the following: MCAD property ID numbers 383045, 238862, 232136, from single-family detached residential and general commercial zoning districts to general industrial zoning districts. Opening comments at 6:24.
Thank you again, Mayor Pro Tem. So again, to orient ourselves, this is along Fostoria, just south of the BNSF site and the BNSF right-of-way, railroad right-of-way. This acreage is currently zoned a mixture of R1 and GC across these different parcels, and so the city is actually the applicant in this case. This is a city-sponsored rezoning, and this is more of a housekeeping item to kind of better align it with current use and future land use. So we'll get into that later, but this would be going from R1 and GC to general industrial.
Are there any comments? Closing at 6:25. We'll move on to consent agenda. All consent agenda items are considered routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless council member requests that an item be removed and considered separately. Do I have a motion for consent agenda?
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda items 11 through 16.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion carries 4-0. Now we'll move on to regular agenda, discussion and possible action on item 17, approving and authorizing the city manager to execute contracts for employee benefits, which is Brinson Benefits, and Angela, and I'm gonna mess up the last name, so I'm just gonna say Jason.
So I'm here, first of all, good evening, council. We are here with our current medical coverage. It is provided through Blue Cross Blue Shield. We did go out for bid. With our bid, it was only Blue Cross Blue Shield and TML that responded. With that, we went out to negotiation, and so we're basically here today asking for the approval to authorize the city manager to execute the contract to continue coverage with Blue Cross Blue Shield, and I have Jason to go into more detail.
Good evening, council. I'm Jason Risby with Brinson Benefits, and we were tasked with going out on behalf of the city to the marketplace to get the best bids that we possibly could. Just to address what are the prevailing items that caused the increase. Overall, the loss ratios for the city were above what the market likes to see. Typically, they like to see about an 85% or less loss ratio. In the last 12 months, the city had almost a 98% loss ratio. 24 months, it was at 92, and at 36 months, it was at over 106. So we initially went out to Blue Cross Blue Shield and and they gave us an initial increase of about 30.67%, which would have resulted in about $343,000 increase to the city. We were able to go out to market, and based on the market, we were able to use that data to go and negotiate with Blue Cross Blue Shield. Ultimately, initially they came back with about 23.4% increase, and then ultimately we were able to get them down to about 6.63% increase, which represents about a $74,000 overall annual increase. But it's a huge difference from where we started. It was $268,000 annually. Outside of that, the total increase then is 6.63% over what it is, and that is also contingent on us renewing the ancillary lines such as dental vision and the others with Blue Cross Blue Shield. Our recommendation, of course, is that we renew with Blue Cross Blue Shield, and I'm open to taking any type of questions that you might have.
Does anyone have any questions on it? If not, can I get a motion?
Make a motion that we approve authorizing the city manager to execute contracts for employee benefits.
I have a motion by Mr. McWaters and a second by Mr. Warwick. All those in favor? Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, council.
Thank you. Number 18, an ordinance rezoning of approximately 1.41 acres legally described as 1.41 acres of land situated in the John Breeding Survey Tract 16, abstract number 432, Cleveland, Liberty County, Texas, listed as the following: LCAD property ID number 29277, from single-family detached residential zoning district to general commercial zoning district.
Thank
And
you.
real quick, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I'm going to recuse myself on this item from discussion and voting, seeing as how I live within the, right close to it, just as a point of order.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome, thank you. So we'll go through these. These are the same items from the hearings, and we'll go through them in that order. Again, this property is situated at the southeast intersection of South Line Street and South Travis Street. It's currently zoned R1, and they're proposing to go to GC, but we'll look at some of the existing conditions. So this is at the intersection looking southeast, as you can see, South Line Street and South Travis Avenue. So currently zoned R1. They are proposing to go to general commercial, and like I mentioned earlier, this is the type of development that they're looking to construct on the property. We would call this a kind of office flex space. So that's kind of an office area with kind of a complementary storage flex warehouse space attached to it. And these are like suites, like you would in a multi-suite building, except they're more not really geared towards a lot of public traffic, but more so employee traffic, ideal for contractors and tradespeople to kind of organize their materials and things for their business. So looking at our future land use plan, this is the best mapping we have available, so bear with me, but it's currently designated as residential on the future land use map. And so I'll kind of go through kind of the test that we, and the lens that we look at all of the rezonings through. So in terms of its compatibility with the surrounding land uses and neighboring properties, this is area consists primarily of detached residential homes, small quantities of multifamily churches, schools, and other office buildings, basically not very many non-residential structures. And so it's compatible with GC zoning in terms of the zoning, as you see, to the north and to the west. So there's already GC within the area. We would consider this somewhat adjacent if you don't really look at the right-of-way lines. And so in R1 or in general commercial, R1 uses are permitted as uses allowed by right. So, you know, through interpretation, that kind of suggests that the districts and uses are somewhat compatible already. And so the proposed office flex space business park is generally less intense than what you would find at a retail kind of business, gas station, uses of those nature, where the traffic is a lot higher. And so, again, like I mentioned in the previous, the hearing items, this is a rezoning. This is not a special use permit. This is not a planned unit development. So any use that's permitted in general commercial would be permitted on the property. They would have to adhere to all of our development requirements, setbacks, and other standards, detention requirements, all of those things. And so in terms of some compatibility items that we have in our disposal in the zoning ordinance, we do have buffer yard provisions when there is non-residential development proposed adjacent to residential development. And so that is somewhat helps mitigate those impacts. This isn't really anticipated to be detrimental to health, safety, and welfare of the public. Like I said, future development must adhere to all of our adopted codes and ordinances, so that would actually kind of promote health, safety, and welfare. As far as change conditions goes, our population is increasing in the city, growth and development in the city, which kind of creates more demand for services. And so the market, the private market, these developers are responding to those development pressures with what they feel is appropriate. The applicant's proposed development is intended, like I said, to serve tradespeople, craftsmen, and people that do those types of service-oriented services and businesses. So the Planning and Zoning Commission voted 2-1 to recommend approval of the rezoning from R1 to GC. I will say one concern was concerned about a procedural thing, really, about kind of authorization or power of attorney. The applicant has provided to us now an agent authorization form, designated an agent, and that is a notarized form. And we were able to determine with their certificate of articles of incorporation and their company operating agreement that the person who made that appointment and the person who is appointed is actually an authorized agent. So with that, I think the applicant, the authorized agent is here. If you have any questions for them or me, I'd be happy to address those.
Emilio, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you please explain the city's ordinance or policy about spot zoning?
Yeah, spot zoning is a practice where it's considered arbitrary and capricious to rezone something, a district that is not compatible in terms of. Let me go back to the map. So you see the red and the yellows. So if we were proposing like a mixed use, an industrial zoning for this property, that would be considered spot zoning. But since there's general commercial across the street and to the west of the railroad, that's considered what we call adjacent or contiguous. So this wouldn't be a case of spot zoning. Spot zoning is kind of hard to articulate. I think Tommy can probably weigh in a little bit.
It looks like spots.
Thanks, Tommy.
Means you have a different color for each one based on whatever use they want, and it sort of defeats the whole purpose of zoning.
Right.
And I have another question in regards to development there. That's a commercial development. What studies have been done as far as if land moves versus what might cause potential flooding to homes in an established neighborhood?
So this is zoning, so that would be more kind of context for the actual development applications. So we're not there yet. Obviously, they're not putting that level of investment into something that's not entitled yet. So in kind of the land entitlement process, this would be kind of the conventional first step, figure out what's allowed. And then if that's allowed, then you go move into like your design and kind of studying those impacts. This isn't a big enough development to warrant a traffic impact analysis. It's over an acre, so it would require some form of detention, whether that's underground or, what's the other term I'm looking for? Above ground. So retention, detention ponds. So there's those considerations, but given the footprint and the context of this site, it would be nothing astronomical.
Okay. And I have just one more question. When and how were the residents nearby notified of tonight's public hearing?
So we have our ordinance outlines a public notification process. So 200 feet around the property in every direction, we generate that boundary from this shape that the appraisal district provides. So we have GIS, Geographical Information System, that runs a geo process. I'm getting too technical, but basically it creates an outline around that, and then I select all these properties, and I take whatever mailing address is associated with their Liberty County Appraisal District data, and that's who gets the notice. And so I believe it's 10 days prior to P&Z, 14 days prior to council. So we send these out 10 days. And so they get a lot of notice before the council meetings, they get the minimum notice before the P&Z meeting. And that's really just based on staff time. It takes a lot of work to do all that.
Was anything provided online, or we expected that they all check their mail?
So we do what's required by state law right now. Again, with staffing constraints, it's hard to add, steps that we really don't have to do. So it's posted on the bulletin board out at City, or the glass out here at City Hall. It's done in the newspaper, and it's done with the mailing notices.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I got one question. What is that little bitty piece that's 124,650?
That's city-owned.
Oh.
So I think we have a lift station or lift station.
So y'all gonna have to have some type of right-of-way to get to it, or y'all already have that?
Yeah, we already have an easement in place.
Do I have a motion, or do I have any more comments on it? Questions?
I don't know if you wanted to provide the applicant an opportunity to add anything.
Y'all wanna add anything?
Okay. Looks like a no.
So do I have a motion? Should we gonna table it?
I'll make a motion to approve an ordinance rezoning of approximately 1.4 acres legally described as 1.41 acres of land situated in the John Brading Survey, Tract 16, abstract number 432, Cleveland, Liberty County, Texas, listed as the following: LCAD property, ID number 29277, from single-family detached residential R1 zoning district to general commercial GC zoning district.
I have a second.
I guess the discussion period real quick, right?
Yeah, we're in discussion.
Or do you need to have a motion for discussion? The second. Oh, just to offer more context, so the decision was a 2-1 recommendation of approval. That was the minimum quorum we needed out of the 5-person planning and zoning to hold the meeting and consider the item. So just wanted to offer that context.
I have a motion, do we need to redo it, or? Seconding the original motion, Roscoe? So I have a motion by Ms. Desiree and a second by Roscoe. All those in favor? All those opposed? 2-1. Motion passes. Item number 19. An ordinance rezoning of approximately 1.17 acres legally described as being all lots 4, 5, 8, 9, and 10, and the remainders of lots 1, 2, 3, 6, and 7, Block 12, Dunham Second Edition, Cleveland, Liberty County, Texas, listed as the following: LCAD property ID number 47267, from single-family detached residential R1 zoning district to general commercial zoning district.
Thank you. Again, just to orient ourselves, this property is situated along the frontage road, also fronting Fostoria Street and Dunham Avenue. Here's some kind of current context of the property. It's vacant, undeveloped, for lease, if anyone's interested. And then we kind of see where it is situated along those streets. Here's some different views. In the distance, you can see the kind of the terminus of that, the U-turn, if you will, of the US 59 frontage road. There's no train on there, but you can see the railroad where it would be in the background. And then kind of a little more tilted view towards the east. And then this is a view from that east side at Fostoria Street and Dunham Avenue. And this is from Dunham Avenue, looking at the property west over to the frontage road. So this property is currently zoned R1. I will say right now, so there's a historic district overlay on our mapping. Our best efforts have not uncovered where this historic district was created by resolution or ordinance. Happy to entertain any background on that. So I don't know how that affects this rezoning. If we can't locate the actual ordinance creating the historic district, designating it, then we can't regulate it as such. We keep looking for it, but at present we cannot locate the historic district ordinance. So they are proposing to go from R1 to GC. Here's that mapping there. Again, our future land use plan, as you can see kind of in the upper left of that map, the future land use plan is pretty much compatible with the current zoning conditions. And overall, I should have said this before, but overall, if we look at, when we look at updating the future land use map, this type of designation, just designating it what it is on the zoning map, is professionally kind of lazy. It doesn't offer a lot of innovation to consider things like this, because zoning is kind of an evolving practice and concept, and development is not stagnant. Things always change, so that's something that we need to look at in our future updates to these maps. But I'll kind of get into the land use compatibility and impact to neighboring properties. So again, the surrounding area predominantly consists of detached family homes or vacant undeveloped lots in this immediate area. Yes, there's some commercial development much further south, kind of towards Southline Street. And so the zoning is compatible with existing GC zoning just south of Fostoria, as you can see there. It's literally across the street. And like I mentioned earlier, there are R1 uses are allowed by right in general commercial, so that suggests some level of compatibility. The property applicant has suggested that potential uses for the subject property could have been selling manufactured prefabricated buildings. That use went to a different site that is outside of the city, next to QT. So he may be able to expand on what his plans will be for the property in the future, but as this is a straight rezoning from R1 to GC, we just have to consider what is allowed in the ordinance currently. And so those uses would be allowed by right if it was rezoned. And again, if we do that, all that future development would have to adhere to our development requirements, of course. And so with that, it would promote kind of health, safety, and general welfare, because it is going to be brought up to code in a sense. It would have to meet all of our codes. Okay. So the planning and zoning, there we go. So change conditions. The applicant maintains that the property was previously zoned some type of commercial designation prior to recent years. I cannot dispute that. But all I can say is our research indicates that at least in 2017, maybe even prior to that, there was a citywide zoning map amendment, and there was an accompanying zoning map showing what the properties were now going to be designated. And this subject property was designated R1. So whenever we do a citywide rezoning, we don't do them often, but it wouldn't be feasible or financially feasible to mail a letter to every person. What some cities do is they'll include it in a utility bill saying, hey, notice that please be advised that the city is going to be rezoning, doing a citywide zoning map amendment. Go to the website, go to City Hall, information available for examination. I imagine something along the lines was done. I imagine that notice was posted in the newspaper. But to send a notice to every property in the city probably wasn't feasible at that time. And that's typically the practice in most cities when they look at citywide map amendments. And again, I talked about the historic district situation. We can't locate any of those regulations, which kind of leads us to believe that it was proposed at a time, but never actually codified, never actually adopted by ordinance or resolution. So also wanted to provide a little more kind of our analysis of whether that property would be suitable for commercial development. Kind of the main things that we're looking at is that, yes, the location along a freeway frontage would kind of lead us to think that that would be compatible for commercial use, although it does terminate there and it does do a U-turn. So I don't know if a lot of retailers would be inclined to pick that site, knowing that they're going to be limited by that traffic. And then the location of the ramp is also an issue, again, with conventional kind of real estate site selection. So with those factors, staff didn't have a recommendation, but P&Z did vote 3-0 to recommend approval from R1 to GC. So with that, I know Mr. Smith is here. He's the property owner. Happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Just one. This is the property in which the owner has been paying commercial tax rate for the last 18 years.
So I'm not a licensed appraiser, but I believe the city only has one tax rate. So
okay.
it's not, the appraisal district tracks like land use, stuff like that, but, that might inform their opinion of value, but it doesn't mean that they pay a tax rate specific to commercial versus residential property.
Thank you for the correction. So the tax rate is the same, but the value of the property would be different, commercial versus residential. And he's been paying on the value at commercial.
I don't know. That's not typically a part of our analysis. That's more of a tax, property tax matter.
Okay. That was the discussion whenever y'all made public comment. Okay. You were paying at a value higher than residential on your tax? Okay. Thank you.
And before any motions are made, I do want to just bring up that we do have to keep one thing in mind. Because the freeway does not have an access point either to go further north, where all traffic there, whatever that commercial property would be, if it's anything that drives traffic, that pretty much means that you're going to be multiplying the traffic that goes through the neighborhood to get back to town. So we need to keep that in mind.
Just for the information, so y'all can have it, the property is valued at $123,230 market value, appraised value.
What was that number again?
123.
123,230.
And this property is across the street from the Holiday Inn, correct?
No. It's further south.
Okay.
Can you give me back?
It's near the Holiday Inn. It's not across the street. That was an incorrect statement. Okay.
Yeah, it'd be south of the site.
Does Holiday Inn have, are they required to use the U-turn also to access the interstate?
Well, they could go to Liberty and go right and get back to Southline or something like that.
Okay. So this
And
would,
they could also go south to River Street.
Yeah, they have an access point that cuts straight through there by Whataburger to get them back to 105. It's all commercial.
what is the main cut through? Is it Liberty or Fostoria for the new Tri-County?
At Liberty.
Yeah, Tri-County's Fostoria, right there by Neal Funeral Home. Yeah,
It's both sides.
yeah.
then the property 47,266, that's a residential house sitting there, correct?
47,266 is the structure on that, a residential structure.
Have those neighbors been
There you go.
informed, or are those houses that are vacant for sale?
So that property owner would be the one who receives a notice, and that's within 200 feet for sure, so they would have been notified.
And there were property owners present during the planning and zoning meeting and some adjacent properties to this
Was it in opposition or support?
opposition.
And then the price of the value, I would say it's pretty close to what residential for that size property is paying right now, actually. Because I know a few people that have residential properties for that size in the city that are overlay of residential and general commercial, and that's about the price of the land value right now.
Give you a comparison on that. To give you a comparison on values, like I said, I did the corner where QT is. I had 8/10 of an acre on the corner there. That sold for $500,000. This has a potential of being very close in that neighborhood. This is a bigger piece of property. It's, like I say, it's just a block and a half up from Holiday Inn. Holiday Inn uses the same path as far as access to it. Our access is the abandoned road. That was the intention that Philip Cook had when he had that abandoned back in there. And once again, I want to bring it to your attention that the property right next to me on the north side, it's currently being used as commercial. You've seen in that one picture he had, there's a 60-foot billboard on it.
That's not bringing traffic, though.
No, that's not bringing traffic. That's not bringing traffic, but that piece of property is commercial, and it's marked residential. Those people I spoke with, they were not aware of the rezoning when it was zoned from commercial to residential. I wasn't. None of us were even notified of that. I don't understand how that happened or why the city would even do something like that. The benefit of that being commercial is far beyond it being residential to the city. I mean, would anybody up here build a house on that? I mean, seriously? I don't think anybody would consider building a house on that right on the interstate highway. It just doesn't make sense. But
Which way were you gonna use that road? Off of the highway or off of Dunham Avenue?
well, we could go on to Dunham, but there's no need to. We've got a driveway on the freeway.
So as you come off Dunham, now you're running next to this house that's now having to deal with commercial traffic right next to it.
Okay, this house was for sale around the time that I bought mine, and I dealt with the people there. And when the gentleman passed away that had it, his heirs, some of you are probably familiar with, they had it for sale to sell it. So the person that's in that house or has that house now was well aware that that property was commercial when they bought it, or should have been, because the property was commercial at that time. I own 30 or 40 properties. Every single one of them is commercial. You can put a house on a commercial piece of property. There's nothing illegal about that. I have 3 homes. All 3 of them are on commercial property. There's nothing against that. The other way around is a problem. You know, you can't go into a new neighborhood over here and build a auto repair shop. That's not kosher at all. But when you change a zoning like that, like I said, my 2 questions were, number one, how did that take place with not anybody being notified? I spoke with Potters. They said they had as far as they knew, their property was still commercial. I was in the same position until I had somebody that was wanting to do something there. And traffic-wise, all of your properties on that and all of them on the other side of the freeway that are involved with that U-turn, they're all in the same basket. You are going to have improvements there done when Interstate 69 is completed. As you probably all know, that the section right here in Cleveland is the tail end of a Beaumont district. That's the reason everything from Houston coming in gets paved and everything out to Lufkin gets paved. talked to, I think it was Leslie probably was telling me, he remembered when that was a gravel road there and everything got paved both ways and it was still gravel. But anyway, that's gonna change. Who knows what their, TxDOT's gonna do there? They may, they may run that feeder across the railroad track. Have no idea, no way of knowing that. But I'm not in any different position than any other commercial piece along there. I mean, just across the street to the left where you see all the trees, that's all commercial. Why wouldn't this be commercial? They have the same access that I have, actually less because they don't have access to the feeder. And I'll reiterate, when I bought the property, I paid a commercial price for it. It was considered commercial at that time, and I paid taxes on it. I mean, you can, if you want to check with the assessor, you can, but it's valuated at commercial value, not residential. Anyway, that's, it's, to me, it's a huge loss. I think it's a loss to the city if that's not commercial.
Have any more questions?
Emilio, is it correct in your presentation that you said that we searched records back to 2017, and from what the city can find, we cannot find on the city side where it has ever been zoned commercial? Is that correct?
That's all we could locate in terms of when things were starting to be organized. The paper files may exist somewhere. That level of examination wasn't done.
Is there any bill of sale or anything that you provided to the city by chance that you had that it was sold as commercial?
I would have to try find an old zoning map. I know for a fact, I looked at the zoning maps where that was, everything on 59 was commercial. Everything along the interstate highway was commercial. I know that for a fact. I looked at the map. Why there's no map anymore, I don't understand that.
And for it to be zoned commercial means anything of commercial could be built, a hotel, a gas station, anything of that nature.
Yeah, off the top of my head, those things are allowed in GC. So if it fits within the context of the property setbacks, things like that, detention, yeah, ideally, I mean, feasibly, that could be done.
And the neighbors who did come to the hearing at the P&Z, they were in opposition of it.
It was like one or two.
Yeah, there was a couple there. I think they owned, in fact, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and again, I could be mistaken, but I believe they resided in the residence. Like if you're standing in their driveway would be an example of where this picture we're looking at now was taken. I think they were right across the street, if memory serves. And that was their main concern, was what it would do to property values on their end if this got turned to, and traffic concerns. And I think, and again, I think maybe why it was zoned residential, if you look at an overlay looking further north, all along that going all the way up to the U-turn is all current homes. So.
Right. The highway expansion, there was more lots in this subdivision. So when they acquired that, property, I would assume it would have been homes that would have been, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Because 59 was east of this site.
So the city has no current record that can be found of commercial, and the owner has not been able to find something as of right now that states a bill of sale for commercial. It's just been based off of the value of the property tax paid being considered higher than residential lot. Is that correct? In regards to, as far as if it was ever commercial or not?
I could probably look up the original contracts when I bought it, because I would have specified on the contract that it was commercial. I don't own any residential property, none. And like I said, I own 30 or 40 properties.
Yeah, just for the city's part, digitally, what we could find was 2017. And so, I guess that's just important to say, like, from here back to 2017, it's been this set of circumstances. R1.
The only place there's houses on the thruway, I'll call it, is where you have the zone commercial. Those are the only places there's houses actually on it. The one, once again, I'll reiterate, it's the property right next to me going north. They want it as commercial, the current owner. He happens to not care what which way it goes, he doesn't care. But the owners of it, the ones that actually own the note to it, they're of the opinion that they're still commercial. And this doesn't, my biggest two questions are, you don't show old maps. What happened to the maps? How did this even take place? Because the whole thing sounds really, doesn't sound right to me, how that ever took place in 2017, how and why that took place.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
Just real quick, again, like I explained kind of earlier in this item, there was a process that staff likely followed, which didn't involve direct mailers, but involved newspaper notice, and in posting that, City Hall, probably utility bill mailers. Go ahead.
So when you do citywide rezoning, there's two ways to do it. You can mail out individual notices to every property owner in the city. And almost no city does that. In fact, we know for a fact the city of Austin doesn't do that because they started mailing it out to a couple of people and the city court of appeals said, no, you can't, you got to mail it to everyone. Or you need to do what's called a joint public hearing process where that notice is published in the paper. Without having looked at any documents on this, I can almost guarantee you if there was a change in 2017, it was done utilizing what's called the joint public hearing process. So individual notices wouldn't have been mailed. That notice would have been published in the paper, and there would have been a joint public hearing held between the city and the P&Z, and then final report and then final adoption. To the extent that there are, if there's commercial, and I don't know offhand if there has been a change. If there was, the fact that someone is on a site doing residential versus someone having commercial on a site, when I don't hear any issue with that, they would just be a grandfathered non-conforming use.
Correct.
It would just be the next step that would be where it would be kicked in, and that's what we're talking about here, the next step.
Any more comments? Do I have a motion? Going once, twice. This item dies, lack of motion.
Oh, yeah, clarify on that, on 18.
On,
I think on 18, you said the vote was 2-1.
yes, on 18, the vote is 3-1. Item number 20, an ordinance rezoning, that's it on item 19, right?
Right, over on 20.
Item 20, an ordinance rezoning of approximately 65.27 acres, legally described as 65.27 acres of land situated in the Presley Gill Survey, abstract number 790, Cleveland, Montgomery County, Texas, listed as the following MCAD property ID numbers 383-045, 238862, 232136, from single-family detached residential R1 to general commercial GC zoning districts to general industrial GI zoning district.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Again, so just to orient us, same one from the public hearings. This is concerning R1 and GC to GI. So this property is situated along Fostoria and also along Highway 105. It has frontages on both. And then it's south of the BNSF Logistics Center and the BNSF Railroad right-of-way there. It's about 65.27 acres. So again, kind of current context of it. So this is currently in use right now. It is being used by the TxDOT contractor that's widening and working on 105. So they use it as staging and kind of lay down, and also as a pug mill for some of that aggregate material. Reutilize that in the paving process. So you can see there, that's the railroad right-of-way there. And so this is city initiated. This is kind of a housekeeping item to better align the zoning of the property with the comprehensive plan future land use map and the trajectory of that area from a land use and zoning perspective. It's intended to aid TxDOT in their completion of that widening project without throwing up a lot of red tape for them. So we already allowed that use to proceed as a non-conforming use because that warehouse was already there. So what we're doing right now is taking steps to better align that zoning so that it's more suitable for future development, because that's a temporary use. That pug mill and that laydown won't be there forever once they finish the widening project. So that's what we're doing. Again, so it's currently zoned GC along 105, and as you can see, R1 along the right-of-way in Fostoria and the railroad tracks. So we're requesting to rezone it to general industrial, which is compatible with our adopted future land use plan as part of our comprehensive plan, if you will. So with that, I'll just kind of go through again some of the land use compatibility considerations. The surrounding area predominantly consists of either large, undeveloped, vacant tracts of land, some rural estates, and then sparse pockets of non-residential, either commercial or industrial development. And as you know, looking at the map, BNSF is right to the north, so they're already under development. They have a lot of track down, working on infrastructure. There's some tenants that are already working on improvements there as well. One of them comes to mind as a transloader, so they take stuff off of the rail cars and put them onto different modes of transportation. So again, it's compatible with the adopted future land use map. It's compatible with the BNSF PUD. So if you look at that zoning map, it's GC with a PUD overlay. That PUD overlay is for industrial uses. A weird way of doing it, but that's what they chose to do, probably because it might have been an easier sell politically. But the uses are allowed within that are of an industrial nature. So it's also located, it has direct access along the railroad, making it suitable for uses that rail access is required. And so again, like the other uses, the zoning ordinance requires a buffer yard where non-residential development adjoins or is adjacent to residential uses to kind of mitigate some potential impacts. So in terms of promoting health, safety, and general welfare, general industrial obviously does involve some unsavory, kind of processes and things, might leave odors, things like that. Because there's a general, a PUD for GC that allows industrial uses for all of the 1,700 acres, 1,400 acres of the BNSF site, this 65 acres, we don't really see that that's making that any worse. And so as far as health and safety, general welfare, it's pretty much be consistent with what is allowed in BNSF. In terms of change conditions, when you want to consider the widening of that 105 corridor, which is going to invite more commercial traffic and industrial development and really influence the character of that area. And certainly once BNSF Logistics Center gets off the ground even more, it's going to be more of a catalytic kind of development for that area. So it's going to define that character and the development pattern of this area for sure. So with that, Planning and Zoning recommended 3-0 approval of the request from R1 and GC to General Industrial GI. This is a city initiated. The property owner is not here. They did submit in your packets a letter of support for our proposed requested rezoning. Happy to answer any questions if you have them.
With it being industrial, they can still do regular commercial on it, correct?
Yes, yeah. We have a zoning ordinance I kind of refer to as down zoning, so, you know, less intense stuff is allowed. You know, what's really regulated is the more intense stuff.
And then, are there any residential homes right now that are connected to that property that you know of?
No, not that I know of. There is the
I think
map.
across Fostoria there is, I mean, that's on the other side of the
Yeah,
road.
east, and then Fostoria, we've met with some people about they were considering developing it for like large lot estate, but we haven't seen any applications or plats for that. That was last year.
That gas station on the corner, that's not city property, it's cut out of this zoning, so is that's Montgomery County's jurisdiction?
Yeah, unincorporated Montgomery County.
Okay, thank you.
Make a motion that we approve the rezoning for the 65.27 acres legally described as 65.27 acres of land situated in the Presley Gill Survey, abstract number 790, Cleveland, Montgomery County, Texas, listed as the following MCAD property ID numbers: 383045, 2388, 6223, 2136, from single-family detached residential R1 and general commercial GC zoning districts to general industrial zoning district.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. McWaters and a second by Ms. Hall. All those in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Item number 21, first reading of a resolution approving the proposed 2025-2026 fiscal year budget and projects of the EDC. You're on here a lot today, aren't you?
I am. I'm a little parched. You know, as part of our budget process, you know, we have to adopt and consider proposed projects for the FY26 fiscal year for the Economic Development Corporation. And so this is what was provided in terms of public notice, and this is what kind of our entire budget is built around in terms of projects. There's other operational kind of expenses, but these are what makes up the project. So creation and maintenance of improvements for the City of Cleveland's wayfinding and gateway signage program, funding for public art and holiday decor to enhance and beautify the city, creation and maintenance of improvements and beautification to city parks and facilities, creation and maintenance of improvements for Hangar L at the Cleveland Municipal Airport, funds to demolish and clearance of strategic removal of dilapidated, unsafe, and blighted structures to improve public safety and promote redevelopment, and funds for job training opportunities in support of local workforce development initiatives. And so the EDC Board of Directors did vote unanimously to recommend approval and adoption of these proposed projects in the FY26 budget. Happy to answer any questions.
Does the line item for city facilities or public art, which one? Oh, holiday decorations, it is included as its own line item. So y'all will be decorating for Christmas?
Yes, we've already begun the process. There's some discounts kind of in the off-season that we're taking advantage of right now. So this year we're really focused on garland and then potentially some nutcrackers. Couldn't find one with cowboy hats on it, but that's okay. So, and then next year we'll kind of keep building out that repertoire of decor, if you will, so that way the downtown area looks kind of, you know, more aesthetically inviting for the holidays. It's something that I think the city used to do in terms of some decor items that were owned and maintained by the city. So trying to get back to that and encourage some holiday festivities.
Any more questions?
Need a motion? Make a motion that we approve the proposed 25-26 fiscal year budget and projects for the EDC.
I have a motion by Mr. McWaters and a second by Ms. David. All those in favor? Motion carries 4-0. Item number 22, approve public hearing dates for the proposed tax rate for year 2026.
Good evening, council. This item, if you recognize it, it was on last week's agenda. That was an error in the date. That was my fault. I got the dates confused with the budget public hearing and the tax rate public hearing. So this is just a correction to the item that was on the agenda last week. And my apologies for the error. It's budget season. So, the hearing for the proposed tax rate will be September, at the regular scheduled council meeting for September.
Do I have a motion?
I make a motion, we approve the public hearing date for the proposed tax rate for fiscal year 2026.
I have a motion by Ms. Hall and a second by Ms. David. All of those in favor? Motion carries 4-0. Item number 23, discussion of the proposed fiscal year 2025-2026 city budget.
We had our first budget workshop last week, and I believe everything was approved. There were a few items that we wanted to fund on the supplementals, and the budget in front of you does reflect those changes. That's just funding the door access for a PD, the radios for his new vehicles that will be purchased for next year. Those were added to the budget. There were a couple changes made in the group insurance allocations. There were some employees that were part-time but had insurance, so I went in and subtracted those amounts out. There were some allocations for departments that were split, and I made those corrections. And then there was one for the hotel fund, the Blue Iron contract, the IT services was not included in that, and it has been updated in this as well. Are there any questions on the budget?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
But does anyone else have questions first?
I just have one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Did we approve one of the boats for fire?
Yes,
Okay.
that was built into that too. Sorry, I have several things.
Oh,
on that.
no, that's
Yes.
fine.
And I forgot also, we removed the vehicles from Fund 701. Roger is actually going to use current year funds to purchase those. Those were approved in the consent items on today, so those were removed. And he's building his fund balance for future purchases.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And sorry, I was not able to make it last week in order to ask these questions. They also had the salary study that they were going over. So this, I know when I was watching online that this proposed budget includes those new salaries that were presented already, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So my first question, before I ask about some of the salaries, is I hear it's about 22 employees who would not receive any kind of raise at all in this upcoming fiscal year, the way that things were passed. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so is there a possibility for us to use fund balance one time to, at minimum, give them a 3% COLA raise as a one-time expense? And then when we're looking at budgets again in the future, or whatever salary study we may or may not use, that we include all employees? So can we give one time from our fund balance for those who don't currently in that other salary get an adjustment?
The reason that we cannot use fund balance is because even though it's a one-time increase of 3%, it's an ongoing cost. Because once we increase it that one time, we have to pay it annually after that. So if we do that, then we would have to
Adjust next year's budget?
budget, yes, to make sure that we're able to fund it out of the base budget and not fund balance. And the way that the budget is structured right now, we are utilizing the base budget 100% and pulling from fund balance for some of the capital projects.
Okay. And so it's a possibility, but then it would have to be adjusted, which it takes some work. And so what if it is presented as like a one-time only, like it's not a continuing thing? Like if you're in a school district funded by taxpayers, it's a one-time, a 1 year, your salary isn't guaranteed year to year, right?
I don't have any knowledge of the salaries going up and down. I can do more research on that, but from the way that the practice has been, as far as I know, when we give the raise, we don't ever take it back. Like there's not a time where we adjust the salaries annually, other than an increase.
Right. No, that makes sense. You wouldn't want to take it back, and it would take some adjustment. I just, as an employee, if I were here and I was one of 20 who did not receive a raise after a year of unemployment, that would be a little disheartening.
I will say, I do understand what you're saying, but I will say also with the last salary implementation that we did, under the previous city manager, that survey was several years old, and it did not get any insight from the employees. So the increases that they received under this study was based solely on the information that they provided to the company that did the survey, and also the surrounding cities that were used to compare those. So the employees had the opportunity to give insight so that the compensation that came back with the study was a more fair and realistic comparison, because a lot of times, our job description isn't always what we do, so we had the opportunity to present exactly what is included in our day-to-day responsibilities.
Right, and I realize these are probably better questions for last week, but there's, some positions that might have a higher salary in other cities. It didn't say whether or not they required master's degrees or 10 years experience or anything like that. When I took a look at the way that it was structured, and I understand how they took the surveys and the feedback, I understand the process, and I did watch. There were some things that I questioned about how they are grouped. Like initially, it didn't look like KSAs. We have directors in different levels. We have superintendents in different levels, and then there was like a receptionist job that was at $38,000 a year, with our guys working outside at $41,000 a year. So some adjustments to specific positions. There were some positions that did look overpaid, but then I also think there are some that are severely underpaid. Or is there a way for us to put all the directors in the same band, no matter what they're the director of?
I did not have that much insight on the study part. HR handled more of that.
Okay.
But as far as the budget goes, we would have to restructure the entire budget if we're going to change the salaries, because the budget as it was approved, the proposed budget, it was with the salaries based on what the compensation study recommended. So in order for us to go back and make changes, we would have to look at each and every position that you're questioning and go back and restructure every department.
And
to
redo the whole
accommodate
budget, yeah, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So we're looking at about 24 that don't get a raise and some directors that are deserving of a raise, or I think there's superintendents in different categories, as well as some of our hard-to-fill positions, public works and things like that, that definitely deserve more than the $41,000. So if it's not possible through a COLA or in any other way to help get those changes now, I hope that we're looking at it and that it's at the top of the list next year, especially for our leadership who has been here a long time, and we have a pretty big discrepancy in even director pays, so.
And what I will say is also, this is just the implementation of the compensation study. What it did is it got rid of the STEP program that we adopted last year. And we now have what I believe is called open range, is the correct term. So next year when we look at the salaries, we will do a 3%, and that will, or whatever we can afford in the budget, and that will apply to every employee. So this is the only reason that those employees were excluded, is because the compensation said that according to their survey and their study, that those employees were being compensated according, like where everyone else is, so.
Well, we also had like a library page in like the 30,000 range, which seemed a little high. So like I said, there were some that seemed high, there were some that seemed low, but if everyone is getting a 3% next year, we can't do a 3%
We
this
can't
year?
guarantee the 3% next year. I just use that as an example, but
Okay.
anything that, if we adopt this study, which we did last week, the implementing it allowed for us to make it easier. Instead of giving the step, it would be a percentage applied to every employee versus a step that was 2.5% for some, 3.5% for some, depending on where you were in that salary range. Your annual increase varied. It wasn't the same across the board, but moving forward with this plan, it will be the same for every employee across the board.
I think utilizing a COLA in the future is going to give us an opportunity. One, with what money we have, we can give that 1%, 2%, 3%, but if we do that incrementally throughout the year, we won't be so far behind when we do another comp study.
Yeah, and that's also another thing we might need to look at, are stipends for our officers, because within the next 5 years, that's a 6-figure job in our surrounding area. between HPD, Harris County, Montgomery County. And so as much as we raised it, we're behind the ball again, even though we've raised it. And so we're going to have to look at that also. I would really wish that there was a way that we can make an adjustment. I don't think 24 people don't deserve a raise. And again, there are some guys working outside and other places and directors that they definitely, yeah, anyway. But thank you.
Just because it says 41 at the midpoint doesn't mean that's what they're making. They could be making more at the midpoint, and they could be making more than the low. That's just the roundabout that they gave us for the study.
Right, that was included in the budget, yeah.
Yes, so that doesn't mean that everybody's at the midpoint. It's based on experience and qualifications also. Any other questions?
Any more questions? Have a motion?
I think it's just discussion.
Just discussion? Okay. Then item 24, we're going to table that
Yes,
for a special called.
yes.
'Cause, we haven't got anything from
I
CAD
have
yet.
been working very closely with the county the last couple of days. And I actually spoke to Richard right before the meeting, the tax assessor, and he said that he would hopefully have something to me tomorrow. So my only question is, I don't know that we will need to have a hearing on the rate, but if we do, it depends on where the rate comes in at. But if we do need to have a hearing, I would like to know your availability so that we can schedule it. Can be during the day. It would be a quick meeting, one agenda item, and in and out. So,
Are you asking everyone availability?
yeah, the availability. I don't know, Tommy, you may be able to, I don't know if you know this off the top of your head, but how far in advance, if we have to do the not to exceed tax rate, is it just 5 days before we adopt? Because we are scheduled to adopt the tax rate September 16th at the regular council meeting.
It more relates to when the notice needs to go out, because the proposed tax rate might needs to be in one of the notices. I'd have to look at it.
Okay,
But, yeah, I was just saying, when you said hearing, I was like, I don't think we need to do a hearing. But we definitely need to do a meeting to adopt it.
yes. Okay. So, I'll have Juanita send an email once I get more information back from the county. We do not have anything today. Any other questions?
Questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 25, request from Tough Kids for in-kind use of Civic Center for the Dancing with the Stars event on Saturday, March 21st, 2026.
Good afternoon, council. We received a letter of request for in-kind facility usage for the Civic Center. Tough Kids, just a little bit of background, is a 501c3 organization that has provided free summer camps for Cleveland over the past 15 years, serving the community with programming and youth activities. Tough Kids has many fundraisers throughout the year, raising money to fund their organization. They're looking to host the Dancing with the Stars on March the 21st, 2026. We do have that date available within our calendar or on our schedule. In their efforts to plan, they're kind of needing to know now how to move forward in requesting the help from the city. Their request is for the in-kind use of the Cleveland Civic Center, the full ballroom, kitchen, and day before setup. We've provided the nonprofit rates within the packet for everyone to look at. But Tough Kids is seeking council's approval for an in-kind usage at no cost. So I do have Isha here. If anyone has any questions or any concerns.
And I would say staff recommends allowing the
Yes.
in-kind usage.
Yes, and staff allows the in-kind usage.
I make a motion that we, approve the request for Tough Kids for the in-kind use of the Civic Center for Dancing with the Stars on Saturday, March 21st,
Second.
Have any other discussion? Have a motion by Mr. Ward, second by Mr. McWaters. All those in favor? Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 26, street closure application for November 7th and November 8th. A, Pedal in the Pines, and B, Log Jam Fest. You're back again.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So yes, this is a street closure request for somewhat of a new event and somewhat an oldie but a goodie. And so what we're looking at, some background really quick. The Chamber has been successfully hosting the Rock and Ride for several years now. It's increased in attendance and popularity amongst the cycling community. And so, and then with the city kind of looking at a lot of different initiatives through studies and focus groups, we've seen the demand for festivals and special events from our adopted strategic plan, parks plan, and then focus groups with the rebranding and with some other efforts. So we want to respond to that, kind of pin up demand, and then with the adoption of the new branding, kind of provide an opportunity to create a signature event for Cleveland with complementary branding and kind of the essence and the core of the brand in terms of how that kind of the values and the inspiration behind the brand with the nature and the kind of historic kind of industrial roots, if you will, with logging and timber. So we also saw that the downtown Cocoa Crawl was really popular, and that created some kind of buzz and attention around the idea of downtown revitalization through events, kind of creating critical mass of people in the area, increasing that foot traffic and patronage to those businesses in that downtown block area. And so with that, we've collaborated. This is Victoria. She's lurking over here. And she's with the Chamber of Commerce. So we're looking to propose combining the Rock and Ride and our new signature event that we're calling Log Jam Fest. And they're going to be rebranding their event to Pedal in the Pines. That's Pedal, P-E-D-A-L, not Pedal like it is in the agenda. So, yes, so here is the closure layout. Again, so East Crockett Street and North College Street Avenue, between Travis and Bonham, and then Houston and Booth, kind of similar to the, very similar to the Cocoa Crawl layout, with the exception I think we're going a little more further up North College. And so, Victoria can talk about it, but Pedal in the Pines may have some outlying closures, temporary closures for the bike part of it, but that'll be just for the morning part. That wouldn't be an all-day thing. That wouldn't be an evening before thing. So with this, we are requesting to close the street the evening of the 7th before the date of the event, which is 11/8. So that allows us to do some staging of event attractions and infrastructure that would be too hard to pull off in the morning. And they have, obviously, they're going to be very heavy in that area in terms of cyclists, kind of getting them off to a start. So I've talked a lot. I'm going to let Victoria talk now.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Yeah, so as far as our part of the event, it pretty much looks the same. Having it closed the evening before does help us out because we're able to get some stuff set up. I really don't know what else to say. We're really excited. This is going to be our 8th event, 8th annual event, and we usually see an estimate of 200 cyclists, hopefully more this year, because we have discussed as a Rock and Ride committee adding on more throughout the day so that the cyclists will bring their families, bring their friends, hang out longer. So this is a great initiative that I think will be really successful. Any questions for me?
I make a motion that we approve the street closure application for November 7th and 8th for Pedal in the Pines and Log Jam Fest.
Have any discussion? I do have one question. Are we going to let all the businesses know prior and everything like we normally do?
Right. Yeah, we didn't do that right with this right now.
Yeah.
For a couple of reasons. Because they're kind of used to Rock and Ride.
Yeah.
Obviously, the impact's going to be bigger with the log jam part of things. but we did have a downtown stakeholder committee, when was that, like 2 months ago? Where we kind of floated, this was called Logtoberfest, long story on that one. But, so they're aware of the kind of the footprint, the idea, the attractions. So we've talked to a lot of those people, either property owners or business people. So we'll do a door-to-door thing. We just wanted to make sure that we knew if this was gonna move forward or not. And more broadly speaking, Log Jam Fest is kind of, like I said, pays homage to the logging timber kind of history. So there is events or attractions related to that with a lumberjack, timber sports kind of show. So it's like a 45-minute show of, and they do different things with axes, chainsaws, log rolling. And so there's that, trying to play into the theme a little bit more with a Carvacon. So we'll have chainsaw carving artists carving sculptures out of logs and wood. We'll have axe throwing, kind of a kids zone, kind of other usual event stuff, right? So food trucks, vendor village, kids zone, touch a truck, trying to bring back some elements of outdoor adventure. So, yeah. So we are kind of hoping to cast a wider net, make this more of a signature event and more of kind of a tourism type of event for the city. Hopefully encourage some visitation from people in, further other communities.
Is it rain or shine?
Yeah, I think it's going to have to be, especially with the level of investment that we're going to put into some of these attractions. So we'll see if we can get an alternate date from our vendors, but I think it's going to have to be rain or shine.
Our part is rain or shine.
I have a motion by Ms. Hall and a second by Mr. Ward. All those in favor? Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. 27, consider authorizing the city manager to grant an exemption to SEC 50-32-8 of the Code of Ordinance for construction activity to occur prior to 7 a.m. at 1700 East Houston Street for a period not to exceed 3 days.
Thank you. Still Emilio Lavario, still Director of Community Development. So this is a request for an exemption. Really, it's called environment, but really what it is intended to regulate noise, section 50-32. 8 is concerning construction activities. So typically our ordinance requires that and limits construction to occur between 7 and 8 p.m. on weekdays. So the background on this property, this is the Cleveland High School. They're working on building a weight room facility adjacent to the football stadium and track area. So their contractor is requesting to pour beginning at 4 a.m. On August 20th, so as soon as tomorrow, and then September 2nd. So again, they're wanting to ensure that with this pour, doing it before the 90-degree plus weather really affects the conditions of that pour, and they want to not run afoul of cracking, surface defects, or compromising the strength of that foundation. So pouring earlier allows for conditions that will be optimal for that, the curing of the concrete. I have a representative from the school district as well as the contractor here as well to answer any questions. But this is the site of where they're doing that along Truman and then east of Charles Barker Avenue. So I would say, I should have measured it before, but several hundred feet away from any residence. Any questions for us?
I make a motion, we approve authorizing the city manager to grant an exemption to section 50-32-8 of the Code of Ordinances for construction activity to occur prior to 7 a.m.
Got a motion by Mr. McWaters and a second by Mr. Ward. All those in favor? Motion carries 4-0. Number 28, presentation and request for approval of a support letter to rename Loop 105 to Veterans Memorial. I believe this is Mr. Carter.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, Mr. Timpton. Thank you for the opportunity to come this evening to make this presentation. I've been working on this for about 3 years now, trying to get 105 Loop to 321 named Veterans Memorial Parkway. Last month, I spoke with State Representative Janice Holt, which just happened to be on the Veteran Affairs Committee, about this idea that I had, and she was very acceptable to it. As we drive around, we see different streets and parkways and freeways named after different people, Dr. King and other people. But we do not have in Liberty County a Veteran Memorial Parkway. So I did a little research, and I understand that naming streets causes a lot of issues sometimes, as far as address changes and things of this nature. So if you've been on the loop from 105 back over to 321, there are no businesses. So this will not be an issue for anyone to have to change their addresses in order to get mail or whatever, or deliveries. I'm asking this evening for the council to either give me a letter of a resolution stating support for this. I visited with the VFW. I will be getting one from them and some other entities within the city. If this is approved by the council tonight, I would like to meet with the city manager and the city secretary for us to get together to put the wording together that would be suffice in order for us to get this project done. Ms. Holt told me that as soon as I can get this, when they go back into session, that she will chair this herself and more than assured us that we can get this done. So again, being a veteran, I think it would be very good for the city, for this community, as well as Liberty County, to have a Veteran Memorial Parkway in our community. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Carter, can I ask a question?
You certainly can.
Thank you. Is this a different section of what was renamed by prior council back in April 2023, whenever it was under House Bill 538 to rename Highway 105 Veterans Memorial Highway with no additional cost to the city? Marilyn Clay made the motion and Carolyn McWater seconded. It passed, and there is a House Bill 538 with Representative Bell's name on it in regards to Veterans Memorial, the renaming of, it says, State Highway, portion of State Highway 105 in Liberty County from Business State Highway 105-T to State Highway 321 is designated as Veterans Memorial Highway. So is that the same thing or a different section? Or is it a continuation of what started then?
I started this with Mr. Bales about 3 years ago, so I would assume that that is the same, a portion of the highway that we're trying to get under State Representative Holt. He was unable to get it through before he left office, so I started this, like I said, at least 3 years ago with Mr. Bales. So I think the answer would be yes.
Okay, so they approved it at that time, but that doesn't continue, so you need another approval from the current council?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you.
It will start on 105 West, come back out, and drop over by Grand Oaks, 105.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we rename the 105 loop to Veterans Memorial Highway, or whatever the official name is.
The name that I'm asking and requesting is Veteran Memorial Parkway, and I thank you for that motion and for this vote. And as I say, I will get with the city manager and the city secretary to put the wording together. And if I'm not mistaken, she'll be here in about another week, so I can hand deliver this to her at that time.
Do I need to restate? Okay, thank you. I make a motion that we support, hold on, where are we at here? Recommending the approval of a support letter to rename Loop 105 to Veterans Memorial. Parkway.
Have a motion by Ms. Hall and a second from Ms. David. All those in favor? Motion carries 4-0. Must be getting hungry.
Thank you, Council, very much for your support.
Item number 29, a resolution adopting the 2025 Liberty County Hazard Mitigation Plan. Mr. Brooks.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, City Managers. Concerning this resolution adopting for the hazardous mitigation plan, in short summary, this mitigation action lead to build a strong and safe, smart community. The goal of this hazardous mitigation plan is to reduce or eliminate long-term risks to life and property caused by hazardous and disasters. The Disaster Mitigation Act of 2000 requires all FEMA-approved hazardous mitigation plan update at least every 5 years to qualify for key FEMA mitigation grants and programs like this, HMGP and FMA. Addition, this is a various type of projects of hazards within an approval HMMP will lead to faster access to post-disaster funds for these priority projects or eligibility mitigation efforts. What this is, so we already have an existing plan. It's about to expire. All this is to renewal. And also if Liberty County itself gets funded in any projects and we are not a part of this program, we will miss out on any eligibility funding that there is. So I'm asking for your approval or resolution.
Make a motion, we approve the resolution adopting the 2025 Liberty County Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. McWaters and a second by Ms. Hall. Are there any more comments? No. Just lost me. All those in favor? Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you.
30, a resolution approving the Montgomery County Emergency Communication District budget for fiscal year 2025-2026.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. The Montgomery County Emergency Communications District has submitted a proposed budget to the City of Cleveland to approve that proposed budget in accordance with the Emergency Telephone Act of the Texas Health and Safety Code. The staff recommends approval of that resolution, and if you have any questions, the Executive Director, Ms. Chip Van Steenberg, is in the audience.
I make a motion, we approve a resolution approving the Montgomery County Emergency Communication District budget for fiscal year 2025-2026.
I have a motion by Ms. Hall and a second by Ms. David. All those in favor? Motion carries 4-0. Item number 31, award for agricultural land use. It's supposed to be RFP instead of Q.
Yes, sir, thank you. So the RFP was put out for the land use just north of the airport. We received 2 proposals. A score sheet was conducted with a committee, and staff would recommend that we approve the bid go to P2P Cattle Company. We would sit down with them and then negotiate that agreement for signature.
Make a motion, we award the award for agricultural land use RFP to P2P Cattle Company.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. McWaters and a second by Ms. Hall. All those in favor? Motion carries 4-0. Item number 32, book objection for Everyone Poops by Taro Gomi. Ms. Cone.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. As you are aware, a statement of concern was submitted on July 9th regarding the book Everyone Poops by Taro Gomi. You should have received a copy of the original concern along with the book resume from Teaching Books and book reviews from the School Library Journal, Publishers Weekly, and Amazon. Taro Gomi is a well-known author and illustrator recognized for his contributions to children's literature, Potty training books are among the most frequently requested titles in the toddler section, reflecting the topic's high relevance and importance to many parents and caregivers. In this book, Gomi uses simple language and approachable illustrations to explain that all living things eat, and therefore all living things produce waste. The book highlights the universality of defecation across different species, including humans, emphasizing that this is a natural, normal part of life. Its primary purpose is to serve as a tool to help children become more comfortable with their bodily functions during the potty training stage, while reinforcing that there is nothing embarrassing or shameful about this process. Originally written in Japan in 1977, Everyone Poops was first published in the United States in 1993. Since 2022, the book has been checked out 18 times by parents or caregivers. The book is included in a curated potty training bag containing 10 books. This bag allows parents to check out multiple relevant titles at once and is part of our 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten program, an initiative funded through a memorial donation for the late Mayor Cone. Given the subject matter, which inherently involves urination and defecation, it is understandable that some parents may have differing comfort levels. However, the book handles these topics in an age-appropriate and educational way consistent with its intended purpose. The inclusion of Everyone Poops in our collection aligns with our mission to provide diverse, developmentally appropriate materials that meet the informational and educational needs of our community. It is my recommendation that we keep the book. And I know in the previous council meeting, I did pass the book around for you all to view the book. Plus, I do believe there was certain pictures that were taken that were sent to you all to cover that topic.
Ms. Cohn, you did reach out to the lady, correct? And she
I did.
gathered
I
it.
invited her this evening to speak, to come and voice her concerns.
I don't see on the agenda that it's an action item. Are we making a motion to leave it on the shelf? Or are we just discussing it and leaving it on the shelf? Under the heading, okay, all right. Then I make a motion that we leave it within the potty training bag in the 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten program.
Thank you, council.
I have a motion by Ms. Hall, a second from Ms. David. All those in favor? Motion carries 4-0.
I will reach out to the patron and send her a nice letter.
Thank you. Number 33, update on code enforcement initiative.
Mayor Pro Tem, City Manager, City Council, Eric Galindo here, Code Enforcement Officer. So latest and greatest updates, steady state with code violations throughout the city. We are, this last month and last time, we had a big initiative to do junk vehicles. And so with property owners that has a lot of vehicles at his property, next slide. We've been moving a lot of vehicles there, so a lot to me is, 5. So, and that's making an impact, not only with that particular case, but other vehicles as well. So, we're making initiative to keep, those vehicles out of here. We also found, I found property owners or contractors working without a permit, and so getting those guys to comply with city ordinance and applying for those permits. So that was on the rise. The one that's kind of that's been kind of low is trash and rubbish. We're starting to get some compliance with that, and so everything right now is steady state. Nothing, glorious about it, but we're fixing issues, and a lot of people are complying with the ordinance and with the violations that we find there. Next slide. Back. And so we have a voluntary substandard demolition that happened at 1109 Truman. Last time I was here, this was in the process of getting permits. Permits have been issued, and they have demoed the property and cleared the land. There's currently 3 houses right now are also self-demo. So hopefully within the month, we'll see that those portions, those properties also cleaned up as well. But that's pretty much it I have for the code enforcement initiative. If there's any questions or concerns?
Mayor and Council, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. So we've enjoyed a lot of success with Eric serving as our code enforcement officer. Sadly, his tenure as code enforcement officer is coming to an end, and he will be transitioning to a position at the municipal airport. So we'll get that posted. We'll, hopefully get some really qualified applicants, really motivated applicants that have a lot of experience. And so Eric's been very successful in terms of his kind of diplomacy and the way he approaches cases and casework and interactions with the public. So that's really a key feature that we'll be looking for, an attribute in other applicants for that position. So he'll still be on hand in this transition period to help us with some of the more pressing matters, work without a permit, stop work orders, things like that. He's going to carry out, some of these substandard cases or anything that is time sensitive in terms of, court appearances and things like that. So, gone but never forgotten, that kind of thing. He's just down the road at the airport, but we really appreciate his service and efficacy in terms of code enforcement.
Anyone have any questions?
No, but thank you for what you've done. I know that there was great feedback on what you did to get rid of signs around town as well, so, and just in general, but thank you.
Yes. Now we'll convene into executive session. The City Council reserves the right to adjourn into an executive session at any time during this meeting and discuss any item on the agenda as authorized by Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, the Texas Open Meetings Act. The City Council will meet in executive session and authorize the Texas Open Meetings Act for the following purposes. 34, Section SEC 551.074 personnel matters. 35, SEC 551.072 deliberations regarding real property. Item 36, SEC 551.071 consultation with attorney. We'll go into executive session at 8:01. We'll return to open session. The city council will reconvene into open session to consider action, if any, on items discussed in executive session.
Mr. Mayor, on item number 7, the public hearing on proposed budget fiscal year 2026, I'd like to make a motion to consider action on the budget at the September 16th meeting.
I have a motion by Mr. McWaters, a second by Mr. Ward. All those in favor? Motion carries 4-0. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Meeting adjourned.